And one thing I want to mention, if, like me, you've turned off your sewing machine and you've come back to it a few hours later, make sure that everything is where it needs to be set for the type of stitching that you're going to be doing. For example, I know I want mine with the needle down engaged, so I have to push this button right here. I want to make sure that my stitch length and width are correct. My machine is still threaded correctly. Everything looks like it's supposed to look. And then I will begin my stitching. And in this case, I'm going to start at the lower edge and work my way up to the collar because I want to stitch on the facing side. For me, that's easier than trying to make sure that I have it where it needs to be from the other side. So, like right here, I can tell I need to fix a couple things. There we go. And I can still see the blue mark I made on my 5/8 of an inch seam allowance mark on my sewing machine. So I'll begin stitching. So remember, you'll be clipping that corner. I already did that, I should have waited. But once you get everything stitched, you'll clip across this corner right here. And then clip this seam allowance down and flip this to the outside. Your collar should be just laying flat like so, all the way across the back and the two front sides. And I will probably go press this. I think there will be some stitches that I need to remove, like this right here. I can still see this, and it's not something I want visible. And when I get this pressed, we'll talk about what that looks like and how it all should fit together on the inside. Due to the overwhelming amount of fabric that I have between the collar, the shirt, and the interfacing, I have decided I'm just going to stitch with my sewing machine right along the edge on the inside, because when this collar is being worn, when the shirt is being worn, the collar will cover up any stitching that would be along this edge right here, and I feel like it would be a little bit better held together. So that's my plan. We'll see what happens. I'm also going to lengthen my stitch just a wee bit. But before I complete that, I'm going to go ahead and use the sewing machine to stitch the facing onto the shoulder seam. I did that already on the other side. I just want to line this up, get it under the foot real quick. Okay, so this is how it looks on the inside. So hopefully now I'll be able to press this fabric and it won't be all bunched up. When I come back, we're going to be inserting the sleeve, which is step number 15 and 16, is the underarm and side seam. Okay, so I'll go press and I'll be back. But here we go. So here's the front, the facing, the collar, and the next little bit is our sleeves. So sleeve installation on this is my favorite type of sleeve installation. But if we look at this, you're going to see we have notches over here on each side. So there are notches here and here. We also have these markings that we made. If I haven't ironed them out, oh, maybe we didn't do that on this. These are they're basic landmarks for your stitching. I've decided I don't quite know yet how I want to finish off the bottom of the sleeves. I've looked and looked and looked. I am going to press them, and I'm also going to do what I commonly refer to as a roll and whip across the bottom, and that will keep it from fraying, and it also gives me more options. If I want to just simply fold under a small amount, now I will have this wing out on both sides, which is typical of a sleeve that is supposed to be hemmed to a certain point so that it will meet up with the edge when you fold it down like so. This will be even. If I need to, I can trim those off and just make this straight on both sides. But if I want a smaller hem for a longer sleeve, the roll and whipped bottom edge allows me to do that, but it also doesn't have to be a smaller hem. I can just fold it under and then fold it under again, and that lower edge will be finished on the inside like so, and then fold it under, and it's all nice and tidy. So I'm just going to go ahead and press these sleeves using a little starch and get them ready for a roll and whip. Starch helps stabilize the edge of the fabric that you are doing a roll and whip to. So it's good to go ahead and use a heavy starch. I'm just going to use the regular foot on my sewing machine, but you could use on a Bernina, I believe it's the foot number 5. You know, actually, I'll just go ahead and switch it out so you can see that. Now that I think about it. So this is foot number 5 as compared to my general all-purpose sewing number 0. This one has this little guide right here. And what that does is it allows you to push your fabric right up next to that on the, let me get you where you can see what I'm talking about. Right here on this side, you push your fabric right here, and the needle will wing over and roll the edge of your fabric. Now it's best to do this at kind of a high speed. So I don't recommend trying to put your machine in half speed. Oops, whoa. Okay, I don't recommend that you put it in half speed and try to do a pretty roll and whip. All right, here we go. Oh, you do have to put it in a zigzag, or you can manipulate width and length. I usually just put it in just the basic zigzag stitch here. Drop this down just a little bit to about 1.5 There we go. Okay, I thought I was recording, but I wasn't. I did a roll and whip along the lower edge of my sleeve. My machine is set at a 3.5 width and a 1 length on a straight stitch setting, and I'm using foot number 5 on the Bernina. Okay, so that is what my lower edge looks like, and then I can decide if I want to just do a folded over or a double folded over. The hem on this shirt instructions is 1.5 inches, and I am probably going to amend that in some way. All right, I'm going to go ahead and do the same treatment on the lower edge of this sleeve. I'm going to switch this foot back to just my regular, everyday number 0, and I'm going to hit clear to clear out all the settings that I had right here, to just clear off all of those settings. But there is a caveat. I also allow my sewing machine to just reboot. Turn it back on, put it in needle down, and I'm ready to go again. Alright, so the way that these sleeves are attached is, as I've said, my favorite method, and that is you just open out the front and back of your garment, and let's place it down right side up. And then we take a sleeve, and I'm going to look at my notches. Okay, so I have a double notch right here and a double notch over here, and I have a single notch here and a single notch over here. However, if I flip this over, then it's backwards. So I need to make sure I have the right sleeve. Okay. Tiny sewing spaces. They'll drive you. Alright. Now I'm just going to pin my sleeve on top of the garment, matching up the proper notch. So the small notch, the single notch to the single notch. I'll go ahead and pin this all the way over. And when you get to the other side, these notches should match up. Well, they're not. I have a big gap of fabric right here. So I'm going to take a look and see what could possibly be going on. Did my fabric stretch? Am I supposed to be gathering? What is happening here? Pin sleeve to the armhole edge. It doesn't say anything at all. So my sleeves must have stretched. And that's okay. I can pull out some of that with a little bit of a gather at the top. After pinning the sleeve in to the armhole edge, there is a bit of a stretch that has occurred in the top of this sleeve. So what I need to do is put in a couple rows of basting so that I can gather the top edge of this sleeve to help pull some of that excess fabric back into shape. So I will set my machine on a 5 and just, now this is not in the instructions, so this is just me fixing my sleeve. Now before I go any farther, I'm going to check to make sure that that works. Alright, so this is my armhole and this is my sleeve. Do that. Put my stitch length back down to about 2.5. And our instructions are going to tell us with right sides together, pin sleeve to armhole, well, no, 15, yes, with right sides together, pin sleeve to armhole edge with the center small dot at the shoulder seam, matching remaining small dots. Stitch, and then stitch again 1/8 of an inch from the first stitching. So you're going to have 2 rows of stitching to hold your sleeve into that open armhole. I recommend stitching from the side where you can have the sleeve on top. And we'll go 5/8 of an inch because it didn't tell us not to. Keep everything out of the way and don't stitch over a pin. Now, as you can see with this sleeve on, you can't see my hand, and it's going to be very long. So next, I'm going to pin the underarm area of this sleeve together. So I have the sleeve here, underarm where my thumb is, and then this is the side seam right here. And then that dot is where we stop sewing. This shirt has a side vent that begins right here and ends at the hem, which we will get to after we finish up this section right here. So I'm going to go ahead and do this underarm seam. It is 5/8 of an inch. Where's my mark? There it is. When I get to this dot, I'm just going to back up a couple stitches to lock it. Alright. Now we can turn this sleeve right side out. And check under the arm. We want to make sure that we have this and this aligned. Which we do. And all the way down to where we're supposed to stop stitching right there. Okay, so far, so good. Well, I've managed to get both sleeves put in, and the side seams pressed. I've decided I'm just going to do a small hem on the sleeve, but I am going to stitch around twice. So what I need to do is lay it flat and then create a fold line and a stitch line. That's probably what I'll do on that. I wanted you to see that with the sleeves, oh, it'd be nice if you could see, wouldn't it? With the sleeves attached, the shoulders are a good length from the collar to the top of the sleeve, and of course they're the same. The only thing that's left to do is this side split, the vent, and the way that goes is you turn under and you turn under on one long piece of that, and you do the same thing on the other side, and then you stitch starting at the bottom. You'll stitch all the way across, and it creates a little bit of a squared off area right here where the side seam is, and then you go across and you do the same thing. So once I get those done, that will pretty much determine the hem. So I'm thinking I'm going to let it hang for a while. But it frankly doesn't really need buttons because I often just wear this type of cotton blouse over my t-shirts, and if I decide to put buttons on it, great. If not, then it's just a lightweight spring jacket, which is kind of nice actually. That might be what ends up happening, but I am going to let it hang on a coat hanger, and like I said, I'm really pleased with this. It does look very similar to this right here, and that's kind of the way I would wear mine. I noticed that they are all left unbuttoned. They're just open, and that's basically how mine fits. And at first I thought, oh no, I've made this too small. But I didn't make it too small. I believe this is basically what it is supposed to be, because if you look, the distance between the top button and the buttonhole, if she buttoned that, it would be choking her. And I learned a long time ago in home ec that whatever you see on the line drawing on a pattern, that is what you're going to get. So if the pants are short or the sleeves are flappy like this, if this area right here hanging below her underarm is something that you're not interested in, that's not going to go away when you make it. That's what it's going to look like. So that didn't occur to me, but all of these are not buttoned up. So I'm going to just take it as they're not supposed to be. They all have on a t-shirt or a tank top or something underneath, and that's basically how I wear mine. So I'm okay with that. I'm going to put this on a hanger and let it hang. There is some heft, even though this is a very lightweight fabric, it's kind of hefty. I want the full length of this fabric. I want it to kind of stretch out before I do anything with the hem on both the sleeves here and the actual length. But anyway, I'm very happy. I like it. I like it a lot. I hope that if you have made yours that you like it. I think what I'll do is I'll see if I can hang it up somewhere over there where you can see it on a coat hanger. I'll be right back. Alright, so I have the shirt jacket thing hanging on what I usually use to hang up a little quilt that a friend made for me a long time ago. And I will back it up so that you can see what it looks like currently. Remember, the sleeves have not been hemmed. The shirt jacket thing itself has not been hemmed. It does not have buttonholes or buttons on it. It's been pressed in various places, but it has not experienced a full-on press. So let's see what it looks like. Okay. So there it is, as it is at the moment. I'm gonna try not to hit the camera, but let's just kind of focus in on certain elements. I mean, we've got the collar, the sleeves, and then on the side there are those side slits on each side. So that actually wasn't a wrinkle, it was just kind of the way it was waving toward the back there. But I do like the way the collar looks, and I feel like it responds well to ironing, which is important to me. I think I'll enjoy that part of it. The shoulder area from the collar to the sleeve on both sides, it doesn't appear to be even, but it is. This side looks like it's ending here, but it actually is down a little bit lower. I did have to gather the top of the sleeve a little bit, which I'll show you. Right here, there's a gather, and that's true on both this sleeve and the one that is on the other side. It does add a different look to this shirt, top, jacket thing. I'm not real sure what to call it at the moment. I kind of like that look a little bit. It also adds, you know, a little bit, not structure so much, but just interest. I like that. So let's get to the sleeves. All right, so both of the sleeves have that little gather right at the very top. Let me find my pointer right there. And on the other side as well that I just showed you, right there. The sleeves do not have a separate cuff. They're just finished, almost like a pajama top would be, at the lower edge. You could add a cuff in a different color, a different fabric, or the same fabric. You would need to shorten up the sleeve length a little bit to add a cuff. If you chose to do that, it would not be that difficult to do. You could put a layer, you could do a lace layer on the inside that would then, you know, kind of extend out past your wrist and onto your hand. There's a number of different things that you could do. Personally, I'm going to turn under a small, you know, shallow little sleeve hem, and then I'm going to do 2 rows of stitching just for interest. The other thing that you can do is put a button or 2 buttons on the outer edge of your sleeve, kind of like a jacket would have, you know, on the back side of your wrist, so to speak. And then there is the lower hem, and I'm letting this fabric hang on a coat hanger probably for about 48 hours, just to let the fabric completely relax and release whatever happens to be holding it. A lot of fabric that you buy when it comes to you is treated. It will be, you know, stiff and not relaxed. But when you sew, you would like for that to happen. And I don't want to do it by washing it until it has had the chance to just hang. The reason that I don't want to wash it and hope that it will relax evenly is because this fabric is sold to me as 100% cotton, and the thread I used is 100% polyester. So my fabric would shrink, my thread would not, and that can often cause puckering in your sewn seams. So the other thing that needs to be sewn are the side vents. So the side vents are both on each side of the top. I think for clarity, I'll just call it a top. So that originates in the side seam that actually begins right at where the underarm of the sleeve is. So you stitch this whole seam from here and then pivot and then to here and then stop. Then these are treated as individual side seams, well, these, and you square it off when you're stitching it right there. So it just becomes kind of a loose little side vent. I want to take a measurement from the back neck to the lower edge today, and then 48 hours from now I'll do it again and we'll see if we've had a notable difference in length. At that point, I will finish off the lower edge, I will hem the jacket and the sleeves, and I will make a decision about buttonholes and buttons. I'm almost reluctant to do a buttonhole. I don't know if I want to cut into this fabric, to make a buttonhole. So I may do some type of a frog closure, which I think would be kind of cute, like just maybe 4 or 5 inches from the top. I'm going to go ahead and get my sewing area straightened up. I hope that you found this so far to be helpful, enlightening. I hope there were some tricks and tips and information that maybe you didn't have before, and it will help you in the long run. Thinking what I'm going to do after it hangs out for a while is think about a frog closure. And if you're not familiar with a frog closure, I will show you a photo of one on my phone. Not necessarily the one that I'm going to order, but just for the sake of you being able to see what one looks like. Let's see here. So that is one right there. It's actually, will you quit? This is one right here. It's actually, I think, made from jute. There are metal frogs that you can purchase. There are the black tape type that you can purchase. Silver frog closure for clothing. Yes, here we go. There's one. They're quite pretty. It might be a little bit too heavy for the fabric that I am intending to put this on. But as you can see, there's a full array. This is beautiful. If it'll load. There's just packages and packages. White, different colors, silver, fabric, gray. That's kind of the area that I was talking about. Maybe a little bit higher, actually. But, you know, something just kind of mid-range on your body that would allow you to just close it up a little bit. It doesn't have to be, you know, fully closed. I can't talk. This one, it looks like it has maybe some rhinestones. So you can get really fancy, you can go really boho, you can go for a handmade look. All sorts of ways, things, tips, tricks, things that you can do to make one for your own shirt jacket, should you choose. And in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and get this video put up. So I'm going to go take a measurement, like I said I would, from the back neck, the top where the collar begins, down to the lower edge of the hem. So just below where the collar is, on the shoulder back part of this jacket, shirt thing, I will measure from there to there. And we'll take that measurement and compare it to the measurement that I will make in 2 days. All right, that measurement is 31 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to write that down on a piece of paper so I don't forget, even though I'll have it on this video. 31 3/4 inch. And that is from the top neck edge of that shirt jacket to the lower hem that has not been hemmed. So I suspect when I come back in 2 days, this will actually be 32. It may be longer than that, but we'll see. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider doing so. It really helps my channel. I will see you in the next video. Bye.